All right, let's get started. Thank you for joining us today at our third WMUG NL Tuesdays webinar. And today I'm happy to announce a great friend of mine and great speaker, Mirko Colemberg, and he will tell us a lot about desktop analytics, the new Swiss Army knife for your Windows as a Service solution. But first, let's quickly thank our sponsors. Hopefully we are able to also present some on-premises events soon, and that all the lock measurement of all the smart lock lockdown things will be disappearing. So thank you for our sponsors, and hopefully, yeah, we will see each other in person very soon. I'm also happy to announce our next speaker, Wim Matthijssen. He will be talking about the Azure Bastion next week, so feel free to join us also next week. But today we will have Mirko, and follow us on social media to make sure that you're up to date. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, where we also will post this this session of today. But now, Mirko Colemberg, thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you for having me. And I guess I can start, right?
Yeah, you can share your screen if you are ready.
Great. So let me choose my slides. Are those visible?
Yep, they are visible.
Okay, great. So yeah, thank you for having me. Great user group. I remember last time when I was on site, and we had delirium from the pink elephant beer in the end. Yeah, I remember that very well because I still have the glass. And it remembers me all the time about that time. And I was talking about Store for Business when it was brand new. But today we have desktop analytics. It's not anymore as brand new as you think. It's a long time in the product of ConfigMgr, almost a year. And you can use it also with 1902. 1906 and 1910, and now since yesterday evening with 2002. That's the new version. I already updated my lab, so just to show you, I was a little bit scared because last time when I updated my site, desktop analytics was like no more working. And yeah, I have to figure out and troubleshoot a little bit, but I will show you and go through about that today. So yeah, as you know, I'm a beer sommelier and brew my own beer. This is my view from my terrace outside, and I have also a little website created with a beer domain. And yeah, beer is my hobby. About me, I'm Mirko Colemberg, working at Base Vision as a workplace sommelier. So I can call myself as a sommelier because I'm a sommelier, a beer sommelier. And why not mixing up the hobby with the work? Because work is also like a hobby. I do a lot of things in the free time because I'm an MVP, Windows Insider, and Endpoint Manager MVP. And yeah, I have also user group in Switzerland. We call it CMC. 3 events, full day events in person. Unluckily, at the moment, for 2 months ago, we have to cancel that and change it to a virtual event. Also, the Workplace Ninja Summit, a lot of Dutch guys are already registered. It's a free event now because we are doing a virtual edition. And yeah, you will welcome to sign up. I guess Peter and Kenneth will send out some information about this event, but hopefully we can do it in person next year, and we have a lot of great speakers this time. So the agenda. We are jumping from Windows Analytics, that's the older version with also upgrade readiness and stuff like that. Jumping to desktop analytics, because the desktop analytics program group is now based in the SCCM product group, and they changed all the analytics information. So if you would set up today Windows Analytics, that's no more possible because you only have the chance to use desktop analytics with ConfigMgr together. So in desktop analytics, I will show you how to prepare it and walk through what's in it and what's the benefit for you. And then I have some things to know. There are some really nice things that you need to know because otherwise you can mess up your environment, especially the clients, in some cases. So in this case, everyone is thinking desktop analytics is a Swiss Army knife. Regular people think this is the real Swiss Army knife. This is how Microsoft is selling desktop analytics at the moment as the Swiss Army knife, but to be honest, all of those are not really true, because Windows Analytics and stuff like that from the past with upgrade readiness and update compliance and stuff like that, there are much more information in there to use, because you can select your devices and have a look, are those devices are ready for the next Windows 10 build, and also the applications. You can organize and orchestrate the application. You can create an overview for your line of business application for testing, as an example. Talk to the vendor for updating the version when it's ready, when not, and stuff like that, that you can exclude some showstoppers before you get starting with the rollout of the next version of Windows 10 and stuff like that. And then you have also post-upgrade scenario and possibilities, but this was all in the past, and now we are changing to desktop analytics. That will be the information all together, like in a filter, and it puts out the really needed data information that you can also combine with your ConfigMgr environment to start planning upgrading to the next Windows 10 release, or upgrading the applications first and stuff like that. So this is the Swiss Army knife, the real Swiss Army knife. This is a photo of my knife that I got from the Swiss Army as I served when I was young. Okay, I'm still young, but yeah, this is the real Swiss Army knife. You can see it's not fancy with a saw and a pin set and stuff like that. It's just simple with screwdrivers and a knife and stuff like that. And of course, the bottle opener, that's the most important thing. Okay, so the update cycle of Windows 10, it needs a little bit of a rotation, like we call it also the app confidence engine, that you can test your application. As you maybe have get some experience from the past when you already updated your environment by yourself to the next Windows 10 build version. It makes sense to cut down all the application testing, because in the past you had to do in a 5 or 6 or 7 year cycle upgrading to the next Windows version, and then you had a lot of time for testing application and stuff like that. But now you are basically, or regularly, my customers are using the yearly cycle for the fall update, and then they have another year to test things or a few months after the release is already sent out from Microsoft, for example 1909, to test application. And it makes sense to get down the testing, because in my experience, we changed the approach of like invite people, have a test machine, have all the applications installed, and invite the users, like the main application owner or some kind of this group of people, and make the testing and stuff like that. So we use also release ready builds from the insider channel. And we sent that out to some special machines for the power users. If they are not happy to test the new features and the software, they have to test and work with them. If they have some problem, they can go and do a rollback and stuff like that. And the most important thing is like driver and application, line of business application, the application that the business is really needing to hold the machine running and ship products and stuff like that. And that makes a lot of sense. Another point that's most often forgotten, it's printing. Sometimes printing sucks because you still have your workflows and paper printing and give it to production, and in the production, like in the industry or somehow, they need a paper and run around to like with a checklist. Yeah, I have done that, and the next one has to do that and stuff like that. And if you have like a printing driver issue, yeah, it could be end in an ugly scenario, because your employees in the company zone where you produce like metal things can really mess up because they can't read, for example, and stuff like that. So yeah, this is the transforming for deployment strategies. Maybe you already have done that and find your own solution for strategy. I can tell you my or our strategy that we build in our company and try to get done with the customers. So if we have the cycle of 1 year with the fall update, we try to update the firmware and BIOS versions of the devices with task sequences from ConfigMgr, and then we change and do the servicing not with a task sequence anymore. We let Microsoft run the servicing or the patch management, because it makes a lot of sense. If an employee has reactions that you don't explain, because for example, you have a laptop and the employee starts the updating over Software Center with a task sequence, and then he thinks, oh, okay, now it takes an hour, and then he puts down the lid from the laptop and it falls in a sleep mode, and your task sequence will broke. And if he open the lid the next day when he starts working again, the task sequence is just failed. And the Windows 10 servicing itself, it can handle some kind of these issues, because it starts there where it was stopped or finished. And yeah, you don't have to troubleshoot some special cases in this case. So that's what we are doing at the moment at our customers, and they are really happy about that. So how Windows Desktop Analytics works. First of all, we have our existing configuration manager side. Then we have our targeted devices with a ConfigMgr client agent on them. Then we have Windows diagnostics data, also called analytics data, or in the past they call it telemetry data. It's the same kind of data. And first of all, I have to create a log analytics workspace in Azure to implement that scenario. And after that, I can connect those log analytics workspace with my ConfigMgr or with my desktop analytics. And then I get an ID the advertisement ID or GUI ID for desktop analytics or for the analytics workspace in the end. And you can implement that simply in ConfigMgr and ship that to the device, and the device knows, okay, I have to send my data, my analytics data to this workspace, and then I can handle, I am as an IT administrator can handle the information. And there are some microservices between for the diagnostic data to communicate with ConfigMgr and stuff like that. So, but there are so many things that are not possible at the moment. I have this slide since end of last year when desktop analytics was coming up, and people or companies are moving from Windows Analytics to desktop analytics, and there was a migration path and stuff like that. So this is not that much important, but if you still have Windows Analytics in place and you would like to change that, you can get this information from this slide. So then we have the Windows Analytics features that are not available in desktop analytics. For example, we have data model documentation or customer reports. We have the ability to run custom queries and export raw solution data and stuff like that. It's all missing, but it's coming. Then Office is not in desktop analytics at the moment, but maybe this will come later. I hope. I really cross my fingers. Office add-ins are available in ConfigMgr with additional hardware inventory data, where you can get that information for upgrade readiness. Internet Explorer and stuff like that are also in it. But for Office itself, there is no desktop analytics that you have an overview about how can you update your build version of Office 365 click to run version and stuff like that. So then we have also update compliance like Windows Update for Business, delivery optimization. I really like to have delivery optimization as a dashboard in that case, because I can't see what's really coming down from delivery optimization from Windows Update for Business as an example and stuff like that. That will be a big benefit. So then I can also, or then I have also possibility to measure my desktop or delivery optimization with MMC, Microsoft Managed Cache. The older word was DOINC, delivery optimization in network cache and stuff like that. And then, yeah, device health is also a little bit crappy at the moment, to be honest, because I can see devices that are not really upgradable, but I can't go deeper and have a look why is it not really upgradable. Then I have to go to ConfigMgr and using CMPivot and stuff like that to get the information out why the device is not upgradable. But I really looking forward, and hopefully they will integrate that information. At the moment, there is only application that are not really ready. As I said, desktop analytics for Office 365 Pro Plus upgrades are not in there. And feedback, there is a smiley that you can send and a user voice to post your ideas of this information. That's very useful. And so this is desktop analytics in the end, in the device management portal. Now the name should be non everywhere because it's endpoint.microsoft.com. And as you know, some guys from Microsoft posted or tweeted something around that the integration of Intune itself is no more in the portal.azure.com in August this year, when I remember correctly. And yeah, so the only way to go, or the future to go, is endpoint.microsoft.com. So in this case, we would get the world domination with desktop analytics for our clients, and I will show you. I have prepared some steps. So we need in minimum log analytics workspace. Then we have to prepare our config manager. We need it in 1902 and above with the rollup update that's written here. Creating collections, set up cloud services, then set up desktop analytics on endpoint.microsoft.com, and then we need the commercial ID and setting up the config manager client setting. So with this, I will switch to my lab to show you that in real how it works. So I change my desktop to my lab environment. So this is the lab config manager primary site, single box. As you can see, I just updated today, and here from this morning, updated to the newest version of 2002. So first of all, we have to set up a log analytics workspace. For that, I go to the classic portal of Azure and go open my log analytics workspace. So that's pretty simple, log analytics workspace. And then I have to create a new workspace. I created the update compliance prod 2 because I was testing our data center in Switzerland last year, and it works. So you can hold your data in your country. I guess for you guys from the Netherlands, you have anyway a data center in Amsterdam, so that's not a big pain. So that's all I have to do. Add a subscription and a resource group, and that's it. So the next thing is preparing your config manager environment. For that, you can open your console, and then you have to go to the administration workspace, to the cloud services, and here in the Azure service, you can build your desktop analytics service. Right-click, configure Azure services, select your desktop analytics. I have already my desktop analytics, that's why I cancel it here. Here I can show you the properties. So I have desktop analytics creates an app for me in the backend on Microsoft. So my web app calls desktop analytics. Then I have the diagnostic data. The diagnostic data are important because you need this commercial ID. And then you can set your Windows 10 diagnostic level in minimum to enhanced. Because enhanced, limited, and basic are not enough for some different versions. So, but I send it anyway to full. And then you can also say in desktop analytics, your device name should be published or not. You can enable or disable that. I just enable it because I would like to know what computer has a problem, right? Then we have the desktop analytics connection. I have a display name, target collection. So you have to add some different collections. Those collections would be visible in desktop analytics. I show you that later on. And then we have the available functionality that you can see what limitation for older Windows 10 or Windows 7, 8 versions, or older Windows 10 versions or later. Those are fully integrated. So that's it for the first thing at the moment. Next point is in the config manager console, go to the client settings. In the default client settings, go to properties, or if you have some custom client settings, you can go to Windows diagnostic and data setting. And here you have to add your commercial ID. And also you can set here the telemetry information should be full or enhanced, limited, or whatever. And I disable for older Windows versions like Windows 8.1 and older. Then I say OK, and now every single client should get that policy down and should add the commercial ID, and now the clients should know where they can send the reporting data. The reporting data will come in here in the Log Analytics workspace. So you can see here with the logs, you can use those information. You can see log management, Microsoft 365 analytics, security auditing, and security center free. You have also some computer availability today and heartbeats and stuff like that. So you can just run that queries if you like. So I don't have started the VMs now. That's why they are offline. But you can also use that as your regular workspace from desktop, from Log Analytics with your own queries. You can have your Query Explorer and use those query informations that you already created by yourself, like apps with upgrade issues and stuff like that. Just select the query and run it. Maybe you have to change the time range. The regular setting is 24 hours, but if you do custom, you can go through back until October last year and say apply, and then you have to run, oops, not this one. So here, I guess this is the right one. So yeah, there was no, yeah.
We have a question.
Yes.
Is it possible to onboard cloud-managed Intune-only devices?
No, desktop analytics at the moment is not applied for Intune-only devices, only with ConfigMgr. There is a user voice open since a long time, asking from the community, from customers to have that information also ready for Intune-only. And Microsoft is still making a plan, maybe, or I don't know what the plan is, to be honest. But yeah, it's a big voted user voice item. But to be honest, I can make a little excursion for that. So if you go to the endpoint.microsoft.com website, and then you have your devices, right? Devices with cloud attached and stuff like that should be show up here with your ConfigMgr environment. It shows more and more information in the relationship. But for Intune only, you have a reports, and here in the reports, to be honest, what you can see from the queries that I just showed you that you can use here for like upgrade readiness, your own rules. You can find some a lot of examples in the web. Just use Google it, and then you can go to the reporting workspace here or blade here, and then you have also log analytics for your Intune only devices. And it depends what data they are selecting in here, but you can maybe onboard your devices with a commercial ID that you just set up for ConfigMgr and use that commercial ID also for your Intune only devices. And then you can just use the same queries here, but it's more or less more work for you to do. But in the end, you can get similar experience, but you have to build it by your own at the moment. So that's my workaround I use. Also, you can use workbooks here for Intune only. You have like Intune audit activity or Intune enrollment and compliance. Those workbooks are ready for you from Microsoft. And you can also build your own from a template to get similar information out of your Intune based or Intune only based devices. Does that answer the question?
I think so.
Okay. So the last step in this thing is set up desktop analytics. So for that we have to go to our endpoint.microsoft.com website, as we already hear. So and here in the all services you can find desktop analytics, and here it will show up another website. I show you that in the slides afterwards, but it will show you first time the connected services, and here you can click through. You have your enrolled devices. You can see when you get your devices. You have your commercial ID, and you have your reset or offboard now. Be careful with those with those buttons down here. If you delete that or reset your workspace, it will clean up all your data, and so you will lose all the history. By the way, here on the top you have the smiley. Where you can send a suggestion or like a smiley or a frown for feedback. So, and then we have also like licensing and cost information here, what you need to have for license model. Then you have configure user and app access. So here you can add users that you already have in your Azure Active Directory to give access to this desktop analytics. Like this is like M365 Analytics Client admins. And here you have also the possibility to sync your data like Office 365 Client, ConfigMgr, microservices, or MA Log Analytics Reader. Be careful here. I regularly use ConfigMgr for the microservice. That's why I selected it. But when I go back to this application here, or to this view here, it shows me all the time Office 365 Client admin. So if you set it once, it is set in the backend. It's just display. It just displays the wrong version what you already have selected. So don't go here every single day and use the ConfigMgr microservices. Then you have your workspace. That's for support, like your workspace name, as we can see from the Log Analytics workspace. Then you have the workspace ID and the commercial ID and stuff like that. And you have also service agreement. So now we are set up our environment. I will switch back to my slides just to show you the important slides from the steps. So here we have all the steps done. Yeah, here just a little info what I showed you. You can use your location wherever you like. Desktop analytics. You can also use the target collection. All system is not really a good idea, because I just select or create a separate desktop analytics collection in my environment and use those collection. But you can also add some more collection if you already built some collections for task sequences to update firmware or drivers or Windows 10 and stuff like that. You can just add those collections in here, and those collections are visible in the desktop analytics workspace. I'll show you that in the next demo. Then we have also the available functionality that I showed you. So, and then if you set it up for the first time, like your commercial ID, your microservice, your workspace, and you enable the desktop analytics, then sit back in minimum for a day, sometimes for 2 days, because it needs time for the replication, for gathering the data, fill it up in your log analytics workspace, and then comes back to you, to your system. We have two systems in that case. One is ConfigMgr and the other one is endpoint.microsoft.com or Intune. And they have to get that information. So it could take time. In the desktop analytics website, it will show you a banner for, I already showed that to you. This is the banner. Welcome to desktop analytics. We will need to enroll devices. That means add the commercial ID. And then the second banner is more important. We are processing your data if this message persists for more than 72 hours. So 72 hours, it's more or less 3 days. So yeah, after 3 days, you should contact the support of Microsoft by sending a smiley or a phone. In that case, mostly a phone, and they will help you. And here it shows you the desktop analytics, what it is. And now we have to figure out how this will be working in the backend. Here are some more information. When you see devices, you can see the devices in new devices. I will show you that in the next demo. Use your commercial ID and stuff like that to enable or onboarding your clients that they can report to your workspace the information. So yeah, in this case, I skipped that. I'll show you that in the next demo together with some other stuff. So here are the commercial ID, as I already mentioned, that you have to collect, go to the client setting, add your commercial ID and send it out. Okay, now we have all the steps done and we are ready to go after maybe 24, 48 or 72 hours. And after that, we can start playing because your devices will be listed in the desktop analytics. You can see that in the assets or in the home tab. You can see Windows devices are ready. Security updates, they are out of date because the line is red. Then we have feature updates in service, near end of service and stuff, end of service and stuff like that. So you can see that in a simple overview, and also in the second part with the assets on the right side you can see apps, and those are the apps that are discovered from the inventory information. And with those apps you can or Microsoft has that in the backend to show what app is not really ready for the next version. Of course, those are the mainstream applications and apps, not a special build line of business applications that you maybe have in your environment that you build by your own. So those measurement information takes a little bit longer. Okay, so the next demo is I go to explain you a little bit the dashboard and for what it is. I share back my virtual machine and say this one. So now we are back, and when I open my home in desktop analytics, so you can see I have 6 devices. Some of those devices are not really ready, so I can see, I can click here and it will show me, hey, one device is older with 1903, one device is older than 1809, and 2 devices are much more older. So this information, it says me nothing because I can't see the device. So here I can add view more, and there is not really more information because I can see a nice graph, but it doesn't help me. So when I go to see all, now I can see, okay, this device is already updated. Here you have some additional information, need attention, there are some issues, need attention, devices, it will show up the name of the device, the manufacturer and stuff like that. And don't forget to scroll here down, because this website is, in my opinion, a little bit ugly because I have to all the time to scroll down, to the right side to see all the information. And here I can see completed, and now it should view my device. That's the PC04, and I can see it's completed, update completed, the targeted build version, deployment start time and stuff like that is created then, or whatever. You can select and filter whatever you like if you have a lot of machines here. You can see all devices that are in progress or not started. It's all on the deployment status. when you go to the security updates. So here in the security updates, you have all those information. You have also feature updates. That's a separate view. Don't forget to scroll to the right side so you can see more information like end of service. Oh, there is a version 1709 is no more available. 1803 it's also out of date since November 2019 and stuff like that. So those are information are all ready for you. Also like semi-annual targeted 1909, it's release date from 12th November, stuff like that. So this is more an overview. So, but what can we do now in the desktop analytics that helps us? So first of all, we can go and create deployment plans. By the way, here are all my assets. I can see here my OS versions and stuff like that in one overview. So you can also see the different CPUs and stuff like that, the RAM. So here I have a pretty simple virtual machine that's based in my Azure virtual machines. And to be honest, this device should show as not possible to update because it has too less memory. It's not possible to update this computer. I figured that out because I was doing that step manually, and it comes up with an error message and says, hey, you have not enough memory to do an in-place upgrade to the next Windows 10 version. And in my view, it should be visible here. So maybe I have to send a phone about that information, but yeah. And here you have not only the devices, you have also the apps, and here is a list of the apps. And the apps are pretty cool because now you can see app version details. You can enable that. Then you have more information like app version and stuff like that. And here you can see when I put that on or off, you have more information or less information. And now you can go and use those information because now you can go and say, hey, I have an application. This is my line of business application. So I can set the importance to critical or not important or whatever. I can add an owner, that's myself in this case. And now I can also have this information here. I can see it's total installed on 4 devices, and you have the information here because this is a line of business application. For my company, it's a business critical application. And then you have an overview of those applications that you can manage and handle here because they are important for you or for your business, right? So here you have also the edit button. You can use the edit button and go through every single application. That's also possible. So, okay, to go back with the information, now we can create deployment plans. And those deployment plans are pretty simple because I create a new one as an example, future 2004 or whatever. That's not possible at the moment because when I select the version, it's only 1909 available. There are no insider builds available. I really hope they will add some insider builds, maybe release ready builds or something in the future that would benefit in my eyes. Then we can add a device group and can say, okay, now we have collections, and those are the additional collections. So you can see I have an old lab, that's my BV lab that was struggling, and I can't delete those collections anymore. But you can also use different ConfigMgr environments, especially if you have a production environment and also or additionally a test environment. You can add both to this single workspace in the end, and it will show you the name of your site, because this was the old one and this is the new, this one where I'm working now. This is my CM001 beer, and I just deployed my desktop analytics collection. And you can see those are the older ones. Maybe I have to ask Microsoft to delete those information. So, and now I have the readiness rules, and in the readiness rules I can go to the OS, and here is another important slider, device drivers, because if I enable this information before Windows 10 in-place upgrade or servicing jumps in, it will check the Windows update for new drivers for the next Windows 10 release and those hardware that I have installed on this device. So if I enable that, the Windows 10 servicing will first download the drivers, update the drivers, and then do the servicing or add the drivers to the servicing stack when it updates and uses the drivers during the in-place upgrade. Okay, and then I can also add a completion date. So in my roadmap, I have defined, okay, I should be ready in a month from now on. All those devices should be ready on the 12th of June to get updated with Windows 10 next build version, right? Okay, in this case, I can create this deployment plan. And now you can see I have some older deployment plans. And I have my new one, Future 2004, right? So now you can click here on those information, and now you can see on the left side it opens a new area, because now you can see or you can edit this deployment plan to change the settings what I already created, and now you have the possibility, or desktop analytics in the backend will fill in the information, but this also needs a little bit time. It's not like straight ahead like a finger snip. But it will prepare or deployment steps will show up as prepare, pilot, and deploy. And ConfigMgr with the information and desktop analytics will get the devices and say, hey, you should start with this device or with those devices. Also for the pilot group, it will say, hey, look, on those devices, there are the most important software that you are already tagged as critical or something. You can test those in the pilot before you go to the deployment. And here you have the plan assets. In the plan assets, you can see your devices, you can see your apps, and the apps that are ready or not ready, and also the drivers. So this information are empty. That's why I go back and show you that in an existing older deployment plan, because here I have the information. So you can see here or not really in the asset plans. Just give me a look. Nope. It's also empty, so then let's take the last one. Here. So here you can see 3 devices are ready, or most of the time the same 3 devices are also for pilot. So then you can see here plan assets. So here you have all the 4 devices. And here you can see sys required issues 1, replace device. Because this device is maybe the problem with the 1 megabyte memory, or 1 gigabyte of memory. That's not enough memory for the whole thing. Here are the apps where you can see the apps are ready or not, and also the drivers. So there are no driver issues because those are virtual machines. And now you can identify the importance. Desktop analytics will tell you what's important with compatibility risk, where you can show here. Don't forget to scroll to the right side. Importance and stuff like that are also visible here. Then you can also select like critical, important, not important stuff. So identify pilot, and now you can, it makes you an offer what devices are recommended for getting pilot information. It should be listed here, and then you just can include those devices for the pilot, and for example, I just added those devices. That are 4 devices. One has a hardware issue and one has an app problem maybe. And I can show or see that here. Rank 1, no. So maybe I have to add or exclude this device because it's not ready. So I can handle that here. So then if you just click here around here and don't use, it will end up in a timeout. That happens sometimes. Then I have to just to go back, use that. Identify pilot. So with the included, I hope I can exclude my computer one. Exclude, yes. So and now I can go to recommended, and it takes a little while to get the information out because it's a big data in the backend. Then you can prepare your pilot. In the prepare your pilot, you have also the apps and the drivers that maybe are not possible to update. So, and then you have the deployment status. If the deployment starts, you can see here it's not started. You can see devices here that needs attention, completed, progress, and so on, and prepare production. Those are the apps and stuff like that. You have also an overview about deployment status, and you have your monitor health information that, it's empty at the moment, right? So when I go back now to ConfigMgr, those informations are also visible in ConfigMgr because in the software library we have desktop analytics servicing. So here is the main page, and then you can go to the deployment plans. And this deployment plan, you can see the 2004 is not displayed because it needs a little bit time of synchronization. But the old one, this here, the update is visible here in the console. It will soon also add my 2004 that I just created. And now you can just double click it and it will open the information for you. So those are the information with pilot status, production status, and then you can also add a task sequence and say deploy. So if you don't have any task sequence, maybe you have different task sequences from one system to another for different hardware, the device types to upgrade drivers, BIOS, or firmware updates and stuff like that, you can just use those information here. If you go back to the deployment plans, if you do right click, you can just see the deployment plan details. But here you have the deployment. No, that's changed. Okay, so here you have to go to deploy, and then it will start your deployment wizard, as you know, from deploying a task sequence. Like choose your task sequence. It will create automatically a collection for you with the deployment name and with pilot and stuff like that. So here also the last button, connection health, that's the information that's synced from desktop analytics to your client or to your ConfigMgr. You can see targeting collection, device targeted, device eachable for desktop analytics and stuff like that. You have a connection health, and here you have more information because of most frequent enrollment blockers and configuration alerts. You can also select those if there is one visible. So just to explain that finish, when I go to the asset and compliance, desktop analytics will automatically create a folder that calls deployment plans. And in the deployment plans, it will create subfolders with pilot and production. And it will create a collection out of the box for you, so you don't have to do anything. In those collection, you can see type is limiting collection. You can change it, but this is the main collection that you have, and it will add deployment plan devices via query that is automatically created, and this query. Don't go in and change something, because this query you can't see any information, because this query is not based on WQL query, because the information in the desktop analytics workspace is a different database, right? So don't change there or delete those information, because you will miss those information after that. Huh? That's an important thing. Okay, so that's the most important part of the whole thing. I'm still 5 minutes left. I will change back to my slides to go quickly through. And show you the slides to make that finish. So here we have what I showed you, explanation, all the information that I just showed you. Then we have the information, sorry, go back here. Microsoft Noni issues ready for Windows 10. Advanced insights, driver risk assessment will be displayed in the monitor HILF and stuff like that. So here we have also HILF status factors, devices that are after update, before update, and stuff like that, with crashes, session with crashes and stuff like that. That's sometimes also useful information, because device crash, it means for me a blue screen. That's not a good thing. Here are the sync, so you can't do the sync manually. It does it automatically for your deployment plans. So here I showed you that already with the deployment plans, what information you can see here, and do the deployment. Then you have more information, and yeah, create your own task sequence, and then you can use your deployments from the deployment plans. Whatever you like to do to start initial update of drivers, and then start servicing, or whatever you like. And yeah, this is the deployment wizard. You should know that. And if you have some problems, hello, what's happened here now? Okay, yeah, deployment. Yeah, there was also creating phase deployments when you go to the deployment plan. That's also possible. Just use phase deployment for pilot or production if you have different phases. So those are the steps. And here in the deployment status, you have also the information that I already showed you. Okay, here are some things to know about the licensing information. Then your firewall settings, that desktop analytics will work and can communicate between your clients, and or most of the time the client send the information directly, but the desktop analytic will communicate with your config manager, the primary site, and yeah, those are the things. So if you would like to go with more information, there is also CM Pivot to use in config manager. Some of the data are similar, as you have also in the workspace. And if you have some troubles, troubleshooting for the connection, there is a desktop analytics collector, PS1 file in the tool config manager install directory, tools desktop analytics log collector. Just run the PowerShell script with privileged admin rights and with execution policy bypass, and then it will create you a folder with all the information. And in M365 My Logs analytics logs, with the date and time, it will create a text file. That's the log file. There are all the information, like your network is not allowing, or you have a proxy between, and stuff like that. All those informations are in this text file. So then don't forget to send a smiley or a frown or any idea you have, because it helps the product group to be better. There is also a possibility to use for MDM settings for Intune only devices, because but that makes no sense, because you have no desktop analytics available for Intune only devices. But you can also add those information via group policy for the commercial ID to send that out. But regularly I use config manager client for that. So Yeah, that's it. Is there any question, Peter or Kenneth, popping off?
Currently not, but let's wait a couple of seconds. Maybe
Okay.
people have questions after all. And yeah, like Mirko said, make sure to look at user voice, because that's the product groups are actively looking at those databases. So yeah.
Also, a good idea is ping DJam, David James, on Twitter, because
Yeah, for sure.
he is listening of what should be displayed in desktop analytics and in the endpoint management service.
So let's wait a couple of seconds.
I see we actually missed a quite important question, Peter.
Oh, yeah.
The question, Mirko, is from somebody who is anonymous, but asks, where can we buy your beer?
Yeah, that's a common question. Yeah, so the problem is I'm willing to ship that really, but the problem is I'm a hobby brewer. In Switzerland we have a law. If we produce alcohol in any kind, we have to pay taxes. But for beer, you can produce 400 liters a year for free. And otherwise, you have to go and ask for a tax number where you have your how you call it, Mehrwertsteuer. Yeah, your taxes for the alcohol.
Yeah.
And if I would like to ship it over the border, and a custom guy opens the package and see, oh, there is alcohol in it. We have to ask for a fee or for a tax, and yeah, and it's different in every country in Europe what you have to pay for taxes to ship alcohol. That's the big problem. But I really willing. But if you are in Switzerland one time, or just pass by through Switzerland, if you go to Italy or Spain or wherever to holidays or vacation, just ping me and I'm happy to offer you a beer. I have all the time I have beer.
Yeah, but also the workplace summit next year, maybe.
Yeah,
Come to
that's
Zurich. Join us over there.
I was happy about the COVID because I brewed 5 weeks in a row, and now my basement is fully of beer. And we have to skip or cancel the physical event, and now I sit on my beer, so I have enough beer. Yeah. Yeah, or next year at the convention, I will brew a lot of beer, different beers, that we have enough for every evening. Yeah.
So we can add a beer tasting session in the afternoon.
Yeah, or in the early evening.
Yeah. I think one question is coming up, maybe.
No questions coming up.
No question.
So,
okay. So Mirko, thank you very, very, very much for this session. It was really cool. Thanks again for our sponsors. And don't forget, next week we have Wim Matthijssen. He will be joining us at the same time, same place, different URL, but we will be here. And please provide us with feedback. I added the QR code, so you can scan it or take a picture and add the feedback after the session. Yeah, Mirko, thanks again, and hopefully we see each other face to face soon. Hopefully somewhere in November. But yeah, let's open the borders first and get rid of COVID-19.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you very much for having me, and I hope it helps and explains a little bit how it works.
Yeah, for me it did. So thank you very much, and
great.
see you next week.
Yeah.